said he wanted out of Indiana. He was traded to the Thunder less than a month later. Around that same time, Kyrie made it clear that he no longer wanted to play alongside LeBron in Cleveland. By the end of the summer, he had been dealt to Boston in a blockbuster trade. Last season, we had the Kawhi Leonard saga. After months of speculation about possible tension between Leonard and the Spurs regarding his quad injury, Kawhi was traded to the Raptors this past offseason. Most recently, Jimmy Butler had his falling out with the Timberwolves and was eventually dealt to Philly and the Sixers. Another star who famously changed teams, Kevin Durant, was asked earlier today if trade demands are a topic among players.
AD want to play basketball somewhere else. It's not like the president shutting down the government. It's just basketball. So of course we talk about it. And we all, as players, we want guys to do exactly what they want to do in this league. We have a short amount of time, so why not do what you want?
Great to have Jalen Rose with us here on SportsCenter. Woj just said this: the Pelicans are in no rush when it comes to pressure and expectations. What's on the line here for the Lakers in the next 10 days to acquire Anthony Davis before that trade deadline?
Woj alluded to it. The Lakers cannot pump fake. They missed out on a couple of opportunities, in particular with Paul George. He was in an Indiana Pacer uniform, said he wanted to be the Lakers. They did not go and get him. They felt they could do it at the end of the year. He gets traded to OKC as a rental player, falls in love with it, and now he's starting in the All-Star game. Guess whose spot that he took? Anthony Davis, who has had career highs for the Pelicans in points, rebounds, assists, and steals. But yet they're in the lottery. So for the Lakers, this is basically Rich Paul and Anthony Davis saying, y'all have a 10-day contract until the trade deadline to get this done. If it does not get done, then it gets opened up to other suitors, in particular the Boston Celtics this summer.
All right, in this stare down, the Lakers can't afford to blink. And back in September, you said that we would be talking about Anthony Davis being a Laker prior to next season. What led you to make that statement back then?
Well, just talking to people in the league and understanding that's where today's game is. And to bring things full circle, when Danny Ainge brought his big three together in Boston with Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce, it was the precursor to players now controlling their own destiny through what I'm calling pre-agency. That's a year and a half before their deal is actually up, letting the team know that they don't want to re-sign. So when an MVP player like LeBron James tells the Cleveland Cavaliers, basically, I can't win a championship here, I need to go to Miami to make it happen, now that paves the way for Kevin Durant to join the 73-win team. It paves the way for the guys that you mentioned earlier, Jimmy Butler, Kyrie Irving, Paul George, all of those guys, and Kawhi Leonard, to tell the teams the exact same thing. So for the Lakers, you must strike right now. And for Anthony Davis, it's really unfortunate watching his team, in particular Drew Holiday, look heartbroken in that interview.
Yeah, you foresaw it. I'm going to take you to Vegas before the Super Bowl, Jalen. Thank you so much here for joining us on SportsCenter. So we take a look at the Western Conference. The Pelicans currently sit at 13th, ahead of only the Grizzlies and the Suns. They're 6 games back, the Clippers, for that 8th and final playoff spot. Look at the Lakers sitting in that 9th spot, 2 games out. Coming.
Back to our top story, the Anthony Davis trade request from the Pelicans. And on ESPN.com, our NBA reporter Tim Bontemps had this to say about what the Lakers should offer to try to get AD before the February 7th trade deadline. He said, offer every single asset they have to New Orleans and hope it's enough. And by every single one, I truly mean every one. You see him here: Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, Lonzo Ball, Zubac, multiple first-round picks. Any combo shouldn't stop the Lakers from pairing Davis with LeBron. Part of the reason that's the case, though, is that it's hard to see it being enough to get the job done. So back in December, Woj laid out the Lakers' trade priorities for this season. Listen.
They're not going to give away picks and their top young players in some deal that makes them incrementally better this season, because they've got to save all those assets for Anthony Davis, a big trade this summer, either pre or post free agency. You know, that's why they've looked at guys who are on one-year deals who don't have money going forward.
All right, those comments led our Lakers reporter, Dave McMenamin, to ask LeBron about the possibility of playing with Davis. Here's what LeBron said. You may recall the quote was, "That would be amazing. That would be amazing, like, duh. That would be incredible," end quote. That was back on December 18th. Then 3 days later, the Pelicans were in L.A. taking on the Lakers. Here's what head coach Alvin Gentry had to say about LeBron's comments. Quote, "We're not trading him. We're not trading him under any circumstance. Why is it not tampering if players are saying it? Should we start having Davis say, why don't we trade for LeBron?" End quote. He was frustrated then and probably still is today. Everybody's talking about it, though, including Lakers forward Brandon Ingram.
That'll be good for the Lakers. Or whatever team that gets him, I'm sure he'll be happy in whatever situation he is. He's a really, really good player, and any team that gets him will be happy to have him.
Oh, such a fine line with this tampering stuff. Dave McMenamin, our Lakers reporter, joining us now. And Dave, we just went over what Bontemps said, and the Lakers, of course, have been clamoring for another star to join LeBron for a long time. How do you think they can get this done?
I'm right on the same page with Bontemps when it comes to this. When you have a chance to get a generational talent like Anthony Davis, while you pair him with one of the greatest players of all time in what's left of his prime, you do it. And if they were to say, you know, we're going to offer you a Zubats and an Ingram and Lonzo Ball and try to hold on to, say, Kuzma and Hart. Well, when February 7th comes around, New Orleans, and then they say, you know what, actually give me Ingram or this deal doesn't get done, guess what, you're going to give them. So you might as well just make your initial offer be a strong one right out of the gate. So
we'll see how that plays out. In the meantime, LeBron and Magic trying to bring the Lakers back to their glory days. Our Jackie McMullen spoke with Brian Windhorst on the Hoop Collective podcast and talked specifically about the future of head coach Luke Walton. Listen to this.
There's a lot of tension in that building, a lot of tension in that building. And I think it's, you know, people are wondering about Luke Walton, even though Jeannie came out, Jeannie Buss, very strongly and said, you know, I want Luke to be here. I back him 100%. But then also made the point that has to be made, and that is that she hired Irvin Magic Johnson to make these decisions. And, you know, if Irvin feels differently, she gave him the power to make those kind of decisions. It's clear to me, and probably to you, Brian, that LeBron's camp would prefer a coaching change. They're not too subtle about that.
Dave, we heard this talk back at the beginning of the season, then everything was fine. What do you hear about Luke Walton maybe being wanted out by LeBron and company?
Well, Jeannie, her quotes to Zach Lowe on his podcast were that Luke's doing an incredible job and he has the support of everyone in this building. So to me, Luke Walton's job is safe through the end of the 2018-2019 regular season. And then after that, all bets are off. We don't know how this team will perform, if it will make the postseason, et cetera, et cetera. There's certainly a championship expectation for this group in the next several years. Luke's job status will be determined by how the rest of this season goes.
And we all know how much power LeBron James wields. We'll see how that goes as they try to keep business as usual, hosting the Sixers tomorrow night. Dave, thank you.
What's happening on SportsCenter right now? Sixers Jimmy Butler said the specialists he visited in L.A. confirmed the diagnosis of a sprained right wrist that the MRI and X-rays previously taken revealed. The expectation is he'll be ready to return to the starting lineup against the Lakers tomorrow. Victor Oladipo underwent successful surgery today to repair a ruptured quad tendon in his right knee. He's expected to make a full recovery, but he'll miss the rest of the Pacers season. PSG superstar Neymar may need surgery on his right foot. According to a source, he fractured the same fifth metatarsal in his right foot as he did last year. PSG and Brazil have yet to officially make a comment, but the two parties are discussing whether surgery is the only option. Our top story of the day, Anthony Davis wants to change his scenery. The 25-year-old superstar has demanded a trade, according to Woj, just a few weeks ago. Listen to this. Following a loss to the Nets on January 2nd, the Brow was asked about whether the losing would lead him to play elsewhere.
At what point do you say to yourself, I don't want to play on a team that's 14th in? I mean, you played on Team USA. You played on outstanding teams.
What's your, I mean, just your frustration level right now with the way things are going in general? Or you're optimistic that things can get turned around?
No, like I said, I mean, the frustration is just that we're a better team than our record show. I mean, everyone's frustrated. Players, coaches, front office. We just have to be better.
Well, the frustration comes in the midst of yet another disappointing season. The Pelicans look like they they might have turned the corner last season, winning their first playoff game and then their first series since Davis arrived. But they're 22-28 this season and on pace to miss the playoffs for the 5th time in Davis's 7 seasons. Tony and Mike have much more on the brow wanting out of New Orleans.
All right, Wilbon, where would you like to see Anthony Davis land?
I got a novel idea.
Go ahead.
How about if Anthony Davis stays in New Orleans?
Doesn't seem to want to.
No, he doesn't, Tony.
No.
And look, it's great fun for the league and people who love basketball and watch it incessantly like I do if he's with the Lakers or the Celtics. That's the history of that league. But you know what? I thought New Orleans had done something. When they beat Portland in the playoffs last series, they had a game off of Golden State. Drew Holiday, Mirotic found a spot that's great for him. They picked up Julius Randle before this season. Etuan Moore is a good combo guard, who's better than a rotation player. I thought, okay, Anthony Davis is one of the best players in the league.
Yeah.
Why can't New Orleans, why do you have to go to a big market? If I'm a small market owner, this would depress the hell out of me.
Yeah, well, what Anthony Davis is saying through Rich Paul is, I can't do this by myself. I'm not a good enough player. I got to go where the better players are. And what this leads to is the same comment we make all the time, that LeBron James has changed the face of the NBA and maybe all of sports. LeBron James is the emblem for the power of players. LeBron James said goodbye to Cleveland the first time around, went to Miami, went to Cleveland, went to LA. He's a perpetual free agent. LeBron James is that important, and he is saying to Anthony Davis, you come with me and we're going to win titles.
Wait a minute.
It's all about LeBron.
If LeBron James is empowering other players,
yes.
then why don't those players say, I'm empowered to go wherever I want. I don't need to hook up with you.
He doesn't necessarily have to, but you know what? It's fun. It's fun. Everything about the NBA is LeBron-centric. The coverage on this network is LeBron-centric.
Absolutely.
LeBron James is the biggest star in sports.
I hope he stays with New Orleans. You're a big city.
Well, he's not going to.
You are.
He's not.
Just a big city.
Where are you going tomorrow?
Huh?
Where are you flying tomorrow?
Los Angeles.
Okay,
That's it. It's warm there. We're done back to you.
Seriously,
don't listen
what
to him.
are we talking about?
No, don't listen.
Mr. Small Market, going LA.
It's a great point, Tony. Okay, so which team has the most assets to get Davis? It is Boston, and by a mile. Over the next 3 seasons, the Celtics could have as many as 6 first-round picks, including up to 4 this season alone. Their own first-round pick and the better first-rounder from either the Kings or the Sixers. They'll also get the Grizzlies pick if it's not in the top 8, and the Clippers pick if it's not top 14. So, the designated rookie rule is what makes it tough, though, for the Boston Celtics. The rule states that teams can have up to 2 designated rookies on their roster at a time, but only one of them can be acquired via trade. And they've already got Kyrie Irving under that rule. So, the only way Boston can land AD now is if they get rid of Kyrie. Probably not going to happen. Otherwise, they can't trade for Davis until July 1st, which is when Kyrie will likely decide to become an unrestricted free agent. Celtics head coach Brad Stevens was asked about all of this just a few minutes ago.
Coach, big news today. Anthony Davis has requested a trade from the Pelicans. I know obviously you can't comment specifically, but what's your reaction when you hear something like that?
That I can't comment. You don't really pay attention to any of it until it crosses your desk from somebody that's involved in the conversations.
See, that's how you handle the no tampering rule. Brian Windhorst joins us live now. Let's start there. What are you hearing from inside the Celtics organization, Brian?
Oh, they're paying attention to it, Sage. They've been paying attention to it for a long time. This is something that has been on their radar. They've been aware of this obscure rule, and they've been concerned that this day would come. They knew that they would have a better chance to trade for Anthony Davis in the summer than if he asked to be traded during the year. And this did not make them happy. What they are hoping is that the Pelicans will show patience. They are going to show patience. They're not trading Kyrie Irving. They want to pair Kyrie Irving with Anthony Davis, but they are going to sweat it for these next 9 days. If Anthony Davis is still a Pelican at 3 p.m. next Thursday, the Celtics' chances of getting him in the summer explode. If there's serious talks between the Knicks or Lakers between now and then, the Celtics are going to sweat. This is a scenario they've been preparing themselves for weeks, Sage.
So it's Celtics, and then, of course, Lakers. That's the team that we've heard really from day one. A lot has to happen if they want to land him, though, by the February 7th deadline, Brian. What could happen between now and then, I guess?
Yeah, the only thing I think that is left for Anthony Davis is to directly demand a trade to the Lakers. He'll probably face an additional fine, but he's giving up $80 million by asking out of New Orleans in a supermax. I don't think a few $100,000 extra would really matter to him. The thing about it is when you talk to people in the league, Sage, they are not impressed with the Lakers' offer. And not only that, the Pelicans would have to immediately start evaluating these Lakers players for contracts. For example, Brandon Ingram is due an extension after this season. I do not think that the Lakers are in the best position, but I will say this, if they're going to get Anthony Davis, it's going to be in the next 9 days. After that, their hopes are the inverse of the Celtics. They diminish greatly.
And people at home should not forget that Anthony Davis is the exact same agent as LeBron James and Rich Paul. Brian Windhorst with